There is a specific kind of person the internet creates and then discards. Not the influencer with a management team, not the public figure with media training. The ordinary person, the one who posted something, or got filmed, or said the wrong thing at exactly the right moment. And suddenly, millions of strangers were looking at them. Then, within days, those same strangers moved on. Once that kind of attention finds you, ordinary life never quite fits the same way again. Consider what that moment actually looks like. It is 2 in the morning. A number on a screen is climbing. Hundreds becoming thousands, thousands becoming hundreds of thousands. Strangers are sharing your face. Strangers are saying your name. And somewhere inside the nervous system, something shifts in a way that does not reverse. A 2019 study published in the Journal of Social and Personal Relationships found that sudden spikes in social validation triggered dopamine responses up to 40% stronger than baseline reward experiences. That is not a temporary mood lift. That is the brain recalibrating what sufficiency feels like. The internal threshold moves, and from that point forward, the original baseline no longer registers as normal. The moment does not just happen to a person. It happens inside them. There is an implicit promise in mass attention that visibility means connection, that if people are watching, people care. That promise does not hold. The views arrive, the comments flood in, and the person at the center realizes quickly that the audience is not seeing them. They're seeing a clip, a moment, an image that has already separated from its source. Psychologists describe this as identity disruption, the fracturing of self-concept when external perception diverges sharply from internal experience. The people who live through it tend not to use clinical language. They describe it in simpler terms. They talk about how an ordinary Tuesday now feels airless, how routine errands feel strangely punishing, how the ambient silence of daily life, which was always there, now registers as wrong. The attention itself was not the injury. The invisibility that follows is, and it only registers as loss because the alternative is now part of lived experience. People who have gone viral once tend to exhibit a particular behavioral pattern that persists long after the moment has passed. They monitor themselves, not theatrically, quietly. A slight adjustment before speaking, a half second of self-observation before reacting. People around them sometimes read this as self-absorption. It is more accurately described as a conditioned response. The brain learned once that being observed produced an intense reward. The monitoring system does not fully deactivate after that. It keeps running. Before the moment, they move through the world with ordinary unself-consciousness. After it, there is a layer of distance between them and direct experience. They live something and simultaneously watch themselves living it. That is not a personality trait. That is a nervous system responding logically to what it was trained on. What appears from the outside as damage also produces something less obvious. People who have experienced sudden mass attention develop a functional understanding of how attention actually works, not in theory, but from inside the mechanism. They understand how fast public sentiment moves. They know how little virality correlates with truth, quality, or effort. They can identify inauthenticity with unusual speed because they have experienced the gap between how something looks to an audience and what it actually consists of. They know the difference between content that resonates and content that merely performs resonance. That knowledge is genuinely uncommon. It makes them perceptive in specific ways, in reading rooms, and spotting manufactured consensus, in understanding what audiences respond to versus what audiences claim to respond to. It simply becomes part of how they operate. Their relationship with platforms and media systems tends toward a specific kind of skepticism, not paranoid, but grounded in direct experience. They have watched an algorithm surface their image, a platform monetize their moment, and received nothing in return. No revenue, no rights, no warning when the cycle ended. They have seen individuals destroyed by coordinated public responses over context-free clips. They have watched people attempt to reclaim ownership of their own image and fail. They know about cases where the subject of a viral video was never informed they were being filmed. They have seen how the system processes people efficiently and without regard for what happens to them afterward. They tend to trust demonstrated competence over stated authority and authenticity over reach. That position was not adopted ideologically, it was arrived at through observation. The second psychological pattern is less visible and develops more slowly. It involves involuntary comparison, measuring ordinary experience against a fixed reference point that no longer exists in the present. A 2021 paper in Cyberpsychology, Behavior, and Social Networking found that individuals who experienced sudden online fame reported significantly higher rates of chronic dissatisfaction with everyday achievements, including achievements that were, by any external measure, worth recognizing. The mechanism is closer to a calibration error than a character flaw. The brain encoded a peak experience and now uses it as an unconscious benchmark. Routine accomplishments register as insufficient not because the person is ungrateful, but because the reference point was set at an abnormal height. The additional difficulty is that memory does not preserve the disorientation of the original moment accurately. It retains the sense of significance, so the benchmark remains stripped of the context that made it unreliable. This affects relationships. Partners sometimes describe the sense that they are measured against something they cannot see. It affects professional satisfaction. It affects the ability to feel settled. These are not character failures. They are predictable, adaptive responses to an experience the brain was not designed to process. When a new person goes viral, those who have been through it tend to react with something that does not map cleanly onto either envy or sympathy. It is closer to recognition. They understand the specific shape of what is beginning, the acceleration, the loss of context, the gap between what the attention feels like and what it actually is. They carry knowledge the current media environment distributes to very few people and prepares almost none of them for. They gave the internet something real, their image, their name, their moment, and did not get it back. That material is still circulating. It will continue to circulate. The people sharing it are not thinking about the person it belongs to. They watch the next wave of people enter the same machine. They rarely say much about it. What these people represent structurally is something like scar tissue. Not a wound, that implies something still open. Not ornamentation. Scar tissue is what forms when the body survives a significant disruption and reorganizes around it. The composition changes. Some areas become denser. Others remain more sensitive than they were before. The architecture is genuinely different, and it does not revert. That is an accurate description of what happens to someone who goes viral and continues living. The experience does not remain in the past. It becomes part of the structure. There is no returning to a prior state because the prior state no longer exists as a physical reality. Most of them do not speak about this frequently. They do not present the moment as either credential or wound. That restraint, that particular unperformed quiet, may be the most consistent thing about them. The world looked at them all at once, and then moved on. They did not. If this resonated with you, consider subscribing. There is more analysis like this on the channel. And if you want to support the work directly, the link is available below. Thank you for watching.